is a total understatement. So I never posted on my personal accounts before that. I would post once a year, maybe on my kid's birthday, maybe ever, hardly ever. And so it was very uncomfortable for me to put myself out there. And so at first, all the posts, like if you were to go back to 2023 when I started my business, it's all, images and carousels. I didn't even get the first thing I did was, I think maybe a year and a half into the business, I finally did a voiceover. And I was like, my gosh, this is terrible.
Welcome to the Social Dialogue Podcast. We're a mother-daughter team, both working in the world of social media management.
Join us as we share our different perspectives on life today, including trends, fashion, friendships, and career, and how social media impacts it all. Together, we bring two perspectives to one conversation.
I'm Shane.
And I'm Jenna.
And we're excited to bring you this new episode of the Social Dialogue Podcast.
All right, so we are back. Jenna's still on a little bit of a break. I'm begging her to come on and at least just give me an episode with an update because there's a lot going on with her and it's very exciting. But for today, it's just me again. And I'm excited to welcome Ronna Belinky to the Social Dialogue Podcast. So Ronna, before we start talking, I'm just going to introduce you to those who don't know you. Today's guest is Ronna Belinky, founder of Workflows by Ronna, where she helps people clear the mental load with personalized planning systems that help them feel calmer, more organized, and more present in both work and life. With experience spanning the TV sitcom industry and the nonprofit world, Ronna has built a no-judgment approach focused on helping people find systems that actually work for their brains instead of forcing themselves into someone else's process. We're talking about overwhelm, productivity, time management, and why simplifying the way we plan our lives can make such a huge difference. I am so excited to welcome you, Ronna. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Me too. We tried this a little earlier. I believe it was Derby week, and I was wearing a fascinator on my head, and then we had some Wi-Fi issues. We're like, let's just bag it. We'll do it another time. So
yes,
here we are. It's summer. Everybody's got a little bit more time. So it's good to see you.
It's so good to see you too. I'm so happy to be here. I'm a huge fan.
Thank you.
So, sad not to meet Jenna, but I understand.
Yeah. You have young adults as well, right? So you get it.
Yes.
They got to live their lives. But she'll be back. She'll be back soon. She is re-engaging on TikTok a little bit. I'm like, we need to be putting stuff out on TikTok, and she's the TikTok person. So she's been rolling that out.
Nice.
So Ronna, you and I were sort of like circling each other for a while. Like we would see each other on networking events and like we still haven't met in person, but I feel like I know you. Tell us a little bit in your words, like who you are and what you do. So if somebody says, what's Workflows by Ronna or who are you? Tell us a little bit in your own words.
Sure. So I am a productivity and time management consultant. So I help people work, I know it's very cliche, but smarter, not harder, and really look at the processes or systems that they have and make them work for their brain. I think a lot of people are trying to fit into a mold. They think, oh, this system works for my friend. It's got to work for me. And I just don't think that's true. And so I really help people execute on their tasks and also plan them in a way that works for them.
Very cool. I think that's very true about systems that you think just because it works for someone else. I had a client once where they brought on one of these new, project manager things. I think it was Monday.com. This was a big platform. It's a big program. We were a small team. And so it felt like there were too many steps to actually get this task on the task list for it to actually get done. I don't know if they're still using it, but I found it very cumbersome. I was like, can we just have like a checklist? I just need like a list, what needs to get done. I don't need all these steps and all these categories and, all this stuff. So I can see how something like that would work for some organizations, but not for all. So that's really
Absolutely.
Cool.
And actually, it's funny that you bring that up because when I first started my business, I thought, my gosh, I don't use project management software and I'm a productivity and time management consultant. How does that work? But it doesn't work for my brain and I'm productive without using it. And it's great for other people. Absolutely. I can't wrap my head around it. Yeah. And there's nothing wrong with it. And I think that some people think that things are going to be faster and they aren't necessarily faster. You have to find out what the issue is for you.
Yeah. We use for my team, on the social media side, we use Basecamp. We've been using it, maybe 10 years. We've been using it a long time. And it works for my brain because I have everything by project. So every client is a different project. And what we do a lot are the to-do lists. And so then, I just put things on the to-do list. Candace and Lindsay know when I put a date on there, it's not the due date. It's the date I wrote it. So there's no urgency, oh my God, it has to be done on Thursday because she put that date. No, I wrote it on Thursday. So then you could look back and be like, it's been sitting there for 2 weeks. The only time there's something with a deadline, I'll put it on the calendar. There's a calendar in Basecamp. So we use that and they go through and check off their to-dos. And it's interesting. We have one client that sends us her content and then I help get that organized to save their work time. So I take it, the client shares it by iPhoto. We have a shared photo and then I go and organize it in Dropbox and then I put a list, I put an item on the to-do list. I just added this to this link and it seems to be working. There are a lot of them not checked off, but I think this client is just sending us a lot of content, which is great. So not complaining.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's great if you have a system that works.
Yeah, for that client, that really works. Yeah. And then, some clients, they're like, I can't deal with any of this. I'm just texting you. And you know what? That's fine. I can deal with it too. But what I do try to do is protect my team. They don't, they only get a certain number of hours per week per client. I don't want them wasting their time, their billable time, going in and checking texts. And so I try to help manage that for them to make it a little bit easier. So that's one way that we workflow things in our company. And then I have a whole other system, the way my brain works with my personal stuff. So,
I'm
my
the same way.
Yeah. We have an iCal with the family and everybody's got a different color. And so my husband said the other week, he's like, wait a minute, we're going out Saturday night. I have to fly to Vegas on Sunday. I'm like, no, you don't. It's not on my calendar. So you're not going. That's how that works.
If it's not on the calendar, it doesn't exist.
It doesn't exist. So yeah, when the kids were younger, they knew she was pink and he was orange and I knew who had track practice and what time to pick up from theater and this and that. Because if you know me, I don't micromanage them. They had to manage their own calendar. So if they didn't put it on the calendar, I wasn't there to get them. So that's kind of how. Yeah, everybody's got their own thing. But I think it's cool what you're doing because I think there's a lot of people out there that they don't have their own system. They don't know how to, there's just stuff flying at them. So how do you, without giving all your secrets away, because I know you have workshops, but how do you sort of bring someone on and hone that into something a little more simplistic to them? Everybody's so different.
Yeah, everyone's so different. So what I say is that I teach processes and the tool is up to you. And I think that that's what the key is. And that's when you figure out what works for you. So I have two different systems. I have one for personal task management and one for my business. And they overlap in certain ways, but I compartmentalize. And so my personal life is my personal life and my business life is my business life. And that's how I teach it. But when I teach it that way, people can, combine them if they want to. Again, the tool and how they implement it is up to them, but the process is the same. So for my Notebooks with Ronna method, which is my personal task management method. It's a way of planning, organizing, and pacing all of your personal tasks. To me, I look at that as a monthly and a weekly process because what was happening was when my kids were younger and I was working part-time and trying to manage personal tasks, I would put something on my to-do list. I would put some things on there and I would never get them done because I was busy working or taking care of them. And I was very frustrated. So I thought, well, why don't I make it more of a weekly process? And when I have time or when I block time to get those personal tasks done, I'm batching them more and not looking at them on a daily basis because then I feel like I'm failing because I'm not getting these things done and I keep on moving it to the next day. So for my personal, I teach it in a monthly and a weekly way. And these are repeatable things that happen every year. So I teach repeatable processes. And then on the business side, because most of the time, if you are working full-time or even part-time, most of your time is spent working. And so I look at that as a more of a weekly and daily process. And so I teach how to time block, how to weekly plan and daily plan. And it's not just the process, but it's all the tips and tricks that go along with it. People don't think about their energy cycles, So I always say, like, I do these presentations, and my top productivity tip, I say, if you leave with one thing today, do your most difficult tasks when you have the most energy. You'll get them done quicker. And this is not about being so fast, but you will get them done quicker, more efficiently, and they'll be better. It'll be better quality. And so it's not just the process that I teach, but it's all of the things behind it, like energy cycles and timing how long things take, so you actually know how much time to block out for it. But we're not taught this, right? I mean, Were we ever taught this? No.
Either you teach it to yourself or you go to your workshop. That's the only way to find out this information. Right. I find that at 53, I have sort of figured out, like a late afternoon meeting, forget it. I will zone out. I will fall asleep. I had a project one day, something going on in the morning. I think I had a doctor appointment. So I was like busy all morning, and I had a project that had to get done that afternoon. And I think I sat down at like 1:00, and at 6:00, I was still sitting here. It wasn't finished. I was just like, I can't focus. I don't want it. Like, if I had just gotten up at 5:00 in the morning and gotten it done before my morning appointment, it would have been done, and it would have been done well. And you know what I think I ended up doing was I just tabled it, and I got up early the next day, and it was done. And it was done well. But I have an executive assistant that works with me, Meredith. She does a lot of like making the business run. And we have like a side joke, because I'll go to check like my UPS store mailbox in the afternoon, and I'll text her, this check came or this paperwork came or whatever. And she's like, I'm going to leave your text unread. This is a morning issue. This is a morning brain issue. And she knows, like, she's like, I cannot even try to read this right now. I won't process it. So now I start saying that to people. I'm like, I'll deal with this tomorrow. This is a morning brain issue. I can't, my evening brain. And now it's summer. So now my evening brain is Love Island's on at 9. So right. I can't get anything done, and then I'm up late, and so it's just a mess.
My gosh, that's hilarious. You are speaking my language. If more people realize that, though, but that alone, and I tell people that all the time. I say, if you cannot wrap your head around something, leave it to the next morning, because it will be crystal clear, and you'll spend 2 minutes on it rather than an hour.
Absolutely. Yeah. So it's amazing that this is what you teach. So you kind of started creating these processes for yourself. How did you figure out, this could be a business?
Yeah, that's so interesting. So I've been doing this. I've been creating workflows and didn't realize they were workflows since my days in TV sitcom production. And so I pivoted to the nonprofit world when I moved back to Chicago from Los Angeles. And I was working in nonprofits, and I felt like we had so many repeatable tasks and projects, and we were reinventing the wheel every time we did them. So for a fundraising project, if we had a mailing that would go out, we would say, okay, 2 weeks before, we need to get it to the mail house. And, a month before that, we need to write the direct mail piece, and all these things that we did every single time we did the same thing. And so I thought, let's create, I'm going to create a workflow in Google Sheets, very simple, for, not just development projects, but things that happen every year, like the high holidays. We do the same thing every year, but the date changes. So why not create a, checklist in Google Sheets, and the date changes, and then all of your to-do dates auto-calculate based on a formula. Very simple. You're not reinventing the wheel. And then I thought to myself, oh my gosh, I feel like I could help other nonprofits. It started out I was helping small businesses too at the beginning, but I thought, I'll really focus this more on nonprofits, because that's where a lot of my experience is. And then I started doing that, and then clients started wanting more. They wanted more consulting and coaching and things like that on how to work better and execute on their tasks. And so I still do workflows, but it's actually the smallest part of my business. And I never thought I would teach my personal planning method. I've been doing it for the last 11 years. I came up with it based on all these different processes that I kind of put together in my own system. But I never thought I'd teach it. I just thought, this is just how I run my personal life. And then I started teaching it, and it really started resonating with people. And I thought, I'm onto something.
That's so cool. I have so many questions. And now I'm drawing a blank. This, I'm so fascinated how you were doing something for yourself, and then you're like, this could be a business because other people can use this. I remember when I first moved back here, I was launching my first entrepreneurial business, but I was working part-time in our synagogue to help out. So I think somebody was on maternity leave. So I was helping out. And the woman who ran that office until just a few years ago, queen of the checklist. She had a checklist for everything. A donation comes in, you grab the blue checklist, and there were like 20 steps of what had to happen to make sure the person got thanked and the card got sent and the published thing went in the newsletter and, all this stuff. And then, tickets came in for high holidays. There was a yellow checklist and blah, blah, blah. So there was it was fascinating to me. And I learned a ton from her on how to do that. And now, I do that now. When the podcast publishes, I have a checklist. These are all the things that have to happen. And it usually takes me 90 minutes to 2 hours to get the whole thing because I just go down the list, make sure this is all done, everything's scheduled out, run everything by Jenna, make sure the graphics look right. Because once in a while she's like, this looks terrible, move this to the right. You don't know what you're doing. I'm like, thank you. So
that's what she's there for.
That's what she's there for. That is her skill. So it makes it so much more efficient to kind of do that planning of the process on the front end. And then you have it and you can replicate it over and over and over.
You said two things. So it's the checklist is the first thing, right? So that's so important. And then the second thing you said, not many people think about, how long does that take? So if you have, half-hour time block, you might get started on it, or if you like to do it all at once, you might not do it because you don't have enough time. But knowing how long something takes is so key, and people get so frustrated. I don't have enough time for this, or I thought, I put 10 things on my to-do list. Well, you had meetings all day,
right?
How do you expect, so it's just, those are key. So yeah, you've got it.
I love
you're
that.
On top of it.
Do your kids, do they follow any of your processes? Like, do they have it naturally or do they play your game?
Great question. My daughter is extremely, extremely organized and has great executive functioning skills and doesn't use my processes, but has her own. And it's interesting because she uses a paper planner and she's, 19. So like this whole digital. So many kids are using paper and love it, probably because they're on their phones so much. But my son, he's 4 years younger than her. He's 15. And the jury's still out on him. I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah. Well, boys, girls,
yes.
There's a difference for sure. Yeah.
Yes.
In their process. I find that, I can text Jenna, hey, you need to call the doctor and do this. And she's like, yeah, I did that yesterday. And the other one, I'm like, you need to do this. You need to do this. You need to do this. And in fact, he was leaving for camp and I needed him to do something health insurance related because he's almost 20. So I can't do it for him. And like, you need to do this. He's like, this is the first time hearing about it. I literally scrolled back in my text. I'm like, March 3rd, May 7th. Like, read your text I sent you.
You're making me feel so much better right now. It's so hard when you have a girl first and then you have a boy. Like, this is really helping me. Thank you.
Although I will say, side note, and I don't know if this is true for you, but our experience has been, because he came second, he was never really like a physical, like he never got violent. He was never like punching everybody. Like, I feel like because he was raised by a girl, he was always a little more like, I better be careful. I'm going to hurt her. Like, I can't get too physical. So like as a little kid, like he'd go over to his friends' houses where there's 3 boys and like everyone's beating the crap out of each other. He was never like that.
Okay. You just blew my mind.
Really? Sorry, that was Jenna.
No worries. You just blew my mind because I never made that correlation.
Really? That's interesting.
I've never thought about that.
Was your son like that?
Well, he's not. He's a little bit more sensitive, and he's not as much of not a guy's guy. I don't want to say that because he is, but he doesn't tease as much as the other boys do. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Because he probably saw how sensitive his sister is. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Wow.
I've had this conversation with a few people, and I keep finding that to be true. So, and I had an older brother. I was the baby sister of an older brother. So I don't know what that.
Me too.
I don't know, but I feel like because like I just could see it when he was little. I remember one time we took him over to somebody's house. They had 3 boys. They lived in the neighborhood and came home and he goes, they don't have any pink or purple in their entire house. Like, it was the greatest day of his whole life.
Oh my gosh, that's hilarious.
It was like 3. It was really cute. Anyway, we're totally sidetracked. Okay, so I want to step back in time for a second because you know that we've talked about this. I'm fascinated with your TV life. I'm a TV junkie. I am positive that I watched whatever sitcom you worked on. How did you get into that business? And I'm just curious what your life was like when you worked in the TV world.
Well, okay. So I double majored at UW-Madison in comm arts with an emphasis on radio, TV, film, and English with an emphasis on creative writing. And I actually moved out to LA. I spent the summer in Madison. I insisted on it, even though staffing season was in June and I knew it. And I said, I don't care. And I stayed. And I actually moved out there wanting to be a sitcom writer. And then I fell in love with production and logistics. And then I was more on a, associate producer track. But I moved out there. I got really lucky, and a sitcom hadn't hired enough production assistants. And I knew someone who worked at the production company, and she got me an interview and I got the job. I mean, I got very lucky. And it's so interesting because someone I worked with, my friend Kim, who I worked with there, actually introduced me to my husband. And so it was very interesting how it all worked out. Now, I could have gotten the same job if I had moved out there in June. Like, who knows? But right. I just think it's really interesting how it worked.
Yeah.
So I fell in love with production. I worked my way up from a production assistant to a production secretary to a production coordinator. And I worked on I worked on 4 series, 9 pilots in the 7 years I was there, and a reunion special. It was a lot. I was burned out when I was done. It was a lot of work, and I loved it, and it was really hard. And everything I've learned about how to manage my time and how to be productive and how to prioritize is from working in TV, 100%.
You know what? Every time we talk, I feel like we have lived parallel lives because I did not go into TV production. I moved to Chicago and went into event management, and I wanted to plan big creative parties and all of this, creative. And I thought I was very right-brained, and I have a hair in my mouth. I started working for a company that did not creative, but trade association conferences and trade shows. So I got into the logistics of it, and I found that I am much more left brain oriented. And after that, I did go work for a very creative, over the top event company, and it hurt my brain to think that hard. But like the logistical piece of, the spec sheets and the calendar of events and all of that, I thrived in it. I loved it. And again, like the things that I learned in that career, I've taken into now. And when I planned the bar mitzvah and the bat mitzvah, like all of it came back. And I was just like, the meeting planner or the event planner at the facilities were like, how did you learn how to do this? I'm like, I am such a frustrated event planner. And the creative side was fun with like, cause it was my own kids. So I was into the theme and that was really fun, but I don't think I could do that. Like I never wanted to plan weddings. I didn't want to plan anyone else's bar mitzvah. Like, not for me, but the logistics side of it is same kind of thing. Like I really thrive on making sure I've done all the steps and worked through all the things. I love a checklist. I love to check things off, and it's just fast. So I feel like you and I have like so much in common, but I love hearing about the TV stuff. In fact, I was just so stupid side note. I am not obsessed. I am watching Love Island, and I watch it because of Jenna. She's like, you have to watch this so we can talk about it.
Yeah.
So I started watching last year. It's the most ridiculous, just an outlandish, stupid thing. I watch brain cells fall out of my head watching this. But I watched a TikTok the other day about someone who has worked in production of a reality show, and she was explaining the production side of this show. Are you watching this at all?
No, I've never seen it. I used to watch The Bachelor and The Bachelorette religiously, and then I stopped a few years ago. My daughter's really into it.
This is like more like X-rated than The Bachelor. Like it's some of it's really gross. I'm like, ew, what are they? And they're like Jenna's age, and I'm like, this is disgusting. But watching this woman, she was explaining the production side of it, and it's fascinating. They're 19 hours ahead of us. So they shoot, and then 19 hours later, we see it. And they've got like 30 production people and editors and all these people, and they divide up who's handling what storyline or what scene. They've got 19 hours to roll that around and get it live. And like, they have to decide like, what's the storyline we're following? Like, who are we featuring and how are we editing and cutting this? And it all happens in less than 24 hours. We're like, to me, that's fascinating how they pull it off,
That's so interesting and so different than sitcom production.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, fascinating.
That's really cool. Yeah, that's great. Do you miss it ever? Do you ever miss the TV life?
I miss it so much. So I worked on, two of the series that I worked on. So one was Will and Grace. I worked on seasons 2, 3, and 4. And then I had the choice to either stay on Will and Grace or get promoted and go to their sister show that the creators created. That was, on the same lot, had most of the same crew. And so I worked on that for 2 years until it got canceled. And so for 5 years, I was working with the same people, and it was really a family. And I'm still in touch with a lot of people. And, I'm still in touch with, other production coordinators on the lot that we worked with and all these people. And it was a family. It was really special. I miss it a lot. And I also remember how difficult it was and how much work it was. But I feel like if I were to do it now, I feel like I'd be even better at it, just, having grown up a little bit. Yeah. But I miss it. I miss it a lot. Yeah. I do. It was a really special time.
That's really cool. And I was a big Will and Grace fan, and I listen to Smartless now, and I wish those two would be nicer to Sean Hayes. They're really mean to him, and I don't. And I'm a big Jason Bateman fan, but they're not very nice to him.
It's so true.
And
he takes it so well.
He does. He really does. And Deborah Messing, to me, hung the moon. She's, gold star. Yeah. She's amazing.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Okay, so now I'm going to pivot a little bit, because if Jenna were here, she would say, let's talk about social media, because that's what we do here. So I know just from being on the networking events with you, you were a little hesitant to start using social and put yourself out there. How did you get over that? And how did you dip your toe into using social to market your small business?
Such a good question, and hesitant is a total understatement. So I never posted on my personal accounts before that. I would post once a year, maybe on my kid's birthday, maybe hardly ever. And so it was very uncomfortable for me to put myself out there. And so at first, all the posts, if you were to go back to 2023 when I started my business, it's all, images and carousels. I didn't even the first thing I did was, I think maybe a year and a half into the business, I finally did a voiceover. And I was like, my gosh, this is terrible. I was so scared. And then actually, you're the first live that I ever did. With you, first one ever. You encouraged me. I think what got me more comfortable is people like you and Lisi who encouraged me. So I did my first live with you, and then Lisi said during a workshop, one of her amazing workshops, she said, you have to get in front of the camera. You have to start talking to the camera. And so I do it. I don't do it often, but I do it. It's really difficult for me. I'm very uncomfortable. I try to be as authentic as possible, but it's hard because that's what I want. All I want is to be authentic. And so that's where I struggle with social media.
Interesting.
Does that make sense?
It does, but you do a really good job of it. You tell your story really well. And I feel like if somebody new came across you and started following your social, they'd get a really good idea of who you are and what you do. So
thank you. That's a huge compliment coming from you. Thank you. Thank you. The professional.
Well, it's great. It's great. And I love when you pop up in my feed. I also think, and I'm going to give you kudos, I think you're really good at commenting on other people's social. And that is such an important part. It's one of the things I tell my clients, the hours we've built in are for, yes, creating and publishing content. But a big part of this is we have to have enough time to go and engage and build conversation. And you build that online rapport, and it's got to be real. And you are very good at it. You constantly comment on other people's LinkedIn posts, on Instagram posts. I see you there all the time. And that takes a lot of time. You must have to time block to do that.
Yeah. So thank you for saying that. And I will tell you that I'm very strategic about it. And so I heard from either you or Lisi or someone else that you're supposed to engage first and then post. And so that's what I do. So I block out a certain amount of time. It's not a lot. People say to me all the time, they say, you're killing it on social media. And I say to them, it's only because I'm consistent. I post 2 times a week, sometimes 3, hardly ever 4. But it seems like I'm killing it because I'm just consistent.
Yeah.
I've been consistent every single week since I started my business, except for a week in 2025 over spring break when I couldn't get into my Instagram account for a week. But, so I'm not.
Wasn't it refreshing to take a break?
Oh, God, it was great. It was great. So I I have a schedule. I time block it out and I'm consistent. And that's what I'm hearing is important. And so I just listen to the professionals.
Well, that's good.
Just tell me what to do. I'll do that.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Your workshops, do you do private or is it all classes?
Both.
Both.
So I actually do them one-on-one for people. I do them in groups that you can form yourself with your friends, your coworkers, your Maj group, your book club, anything. And then I also have scheduled workshops. I've done about 9 of them so far. And now I've decided I'm going to have scheduled ones every quarter.
Nice. Do you know when the next one is?
Yes, it's October. Oh gosh, I think it's October 14th.
Okay.
I'm almost positive.
And how do people sign up for that?
Yeah, so I haven't launched it yet, but if you subscribe to my newsletter, then you'll be among the first to hear about it because I always announce to my newsletter first.
Okay. And how do people find your newsletter? What's your website?
Yes, it's workflowsbyronna.com. And usually there's a pop-up or you can just scroll to the bottom for the newsletter sign up. And that's the best way to hear about it. And the workshop is for personal task management. So if you want to learn how to work with my business, I do presentation, or how to work in your business, I do presentations. And then I also work one-on-one with people.
Awesome. And do you do presentations virtually? Like you could do that for other companies, other places?
I do. Yeah, I do it both virtually and I've done it in person.
Awesome. Good to know.
Yeah.
And what's the best way for people to connect with you?
I would say on Instagram, probably Workflows by Ronna. You can email me if you have any questions about anything, Ronna@workflowsbyronna.com. I'm also on Facebook, but I'm not so active on it. And I'm also on LinkedIn under Ronna Belinky.
Okay. Awesome. Well, Ronna, this has been great. I'm so glad we got to have this conversation. I always love seeing you face to face. One of these days, I'm going to come up to Chicago and we're going to hug it out because I love seeing you. And I wish that we got to see each other in person more often because you're such a breath of fresh air. It's awesome.
Thank you. I feel the same way about you. And when you meet someone and you really connect, like that's how I feel about you. So
yeah. I feel like if we lived in the same neighborhood, we'd be out walking every day.
Oh my gosh, totally.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Me and my crazy dog, but anyway.
I bring my dog too.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Well, thank you for all your time today. This was great. And I'm excited for more people to go and check out Workflows by Ronna.
Thank you so much for having me. This was so fun.
Thanks, Ronna.
Thanks for joining us on the Social Dialogue podcast. If you liked today's conversation, be sure to leave us a 5-star rating and a review and share it with a friend.
Keep the dialogue going with us on social. Find us on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and YouTube.
I'm Shane.
And I'm Jenna.
Thanks for listening.